Hello students, today we are going to discuss the subject computer applications for the class 9th, and in this video class we are going to discuss chapter 4. Okay. So basics of operating system, this is the name of the chapter. And what is operating system? In simple words we can say that operating system gives us interface. Means operating system is there to give interface to the user so that user can use smoothly, hassle-free manner, they can operate the computer, they can operate the system, not only computer. Okay, this is the role of operating system, this is the work of operating system. It is a program which acts as an interface between user and all computing resources, means all the hardware part available in the computer. Okay. So the goal of operating system, what was the goal to design the operating system? The primary goal of this operating system is to make the computer system convenient to use. Means user can use effortlessly, smoothly operation. This was the goal. This was the primary goal of operating systems, and this is the secondary. What is the secondary goal? Secondary goal is to use the computer hardware in an efficient manner. Means the utilization of resources must be there. Resources must not be wasted, means they must be utilized up to their maximum power, up to their maximum capacity. Whatever the capacity of that hardware is, that must be utilized. This is the goal of operating system. So an operating system is working to give us smooth and interactive interface, as well as operating system is also there to manage all the hardwares in an efficient manner. Okay. The major components, we discussed this part in our last video class, but still we'll discuss very briefly here. So we'll start from the bottom end, that is the computer hardware. This is the basic hardware resources available in the computer, and then operating system, it gives the interface. Okay, and interface is being used by the application programs routines also, and these application programs routines are there to utilize the resources, because user directly cannot access any hardware. They require some software, they require some applications, and these application program routines utilize the resources, access the resources with the help of operating system. And the fourth component, that is the most important also, that is the user. So the four major components of the computer system is the computer hardware, operating system, application programs, and application program routines, and the user. Okay, so these all four parts make the computer system. So the user is there to use all the computer system. Computer hardware means the basic hardware resources. Operating system is there to give the interface, and application program interacts with the hardware with the help of operating system. Okay. Now, role of operating system. What is the role? The operating system is there to execute the programs for handling input-output operations, for manipulation of file systems. So in program execution, what happens? The user also wanted to execute some programs, that is also being executed, and some programs internally wanted to execute something, and that is also the part of execution. So all these are being handled by the operating system. Okay, then handling input-output operation. Input-output operation means how the input devices and output devices will communicate, and how the data will be conveyed to output device, and how the data will be carried from the input devices. Whatever this thing, so input-output procedure, all is being handled by the operating system also. Okay, we need not to bother about that. How keyboard will interact with the computer, how mouse will interact with the computer, how monitor is going to interact with the computer. We need not to worry about this thing. Operating system is there to make their communication smooth with, not with the computer, means all these are the parts of the computer, means with CPU, the central processing unit. All these devices are going to communicate with the CPU at any point. Okay, so operating system is there to make their communication smooth, easy, okay, and fruitful also. The manipulation of file system. The file system manipulation means if any program wanted to access any file, and if that program is not authorized to access that file, so manipulation will be handled by operating system also. If that file is not allowed to that particular user, particular application, so it will give access denied error, or if that file is only read only, if that file is having read-only permission, then that file will be opened in that mode only. Read-only permission means not any program or not any authorized user can change the file, can modify the content of that file, because they can only read the content and nothing else. Read-write permission, but whatever the permission, whatever the file is, that must be followed in their permissions. Okay, whatever the permission is given to the file. If that user or that program is not authorized to access that file, then OS is not going to give permission. So this is also the role of operating system. Next, error detection and handling. Error detection and handling. This is also the part of operating system. Means if any error occurs in the computer system, then OS tries to solve that. If that is not able to solve by their level, on their level, so it will report to the user. Because if user interruption is required, then it will ask the attention, it will ask the instruction from the users. So it reports the error and it tries to manage also, if that is easily manageable. Okay. Resource allocation. Every program, every instructions requires some resources in the computer system. So operating system is there to grant the permission to access the resource by that particular program. And if the execution of that program is over, then again resource is made free from that application. This is also the role of operating system. Suppose your operating system, suppose a program wanted to access the keyboard for a while, and if that program is in inactive mode, then what will happen? Then OS will free keyboard from that application, and that keyboard will be freed for another applications also. So this is the part of resource allocation and delocation. This is done by operating system very smoothly. Then accounting. What is accounting? Operating system keeps track of each and every transaction, each and every functionality. If you open a file and that generates an error, that error is recorded. If you are doing any work on the computer system, that is being accounted, that is being recorded by the operating system to maintain the system service log. Okay. Now, information and resource protection. Whatever the information, whatever the data we have stored in the computer, security of that data is also the responsibility of operating system. If operating system is not capable to provide the security, then that OS will not be used on a large scale. Okay, so this is also the role of operating system, to protect the information and the resources also. Okay, protection against unauthorized access. If any user is not authorized to use your file or your D drive or anything, then operating system is there to check the permission, check the authorization level of that user or that program, and work accordingly. If you are not authorized, you cannot access that. So OS is there to maintain this security setting. Okay, this protection level. Providing user interface. This is the most important work also. All the works were very important, but this is which we face directly, which we use directly. Means user uses directly the user interface. The interface which is there with the help of that resource, we can with the help of that interface we can interact with the operating system. So this is also the role of operating system. Okay. Now what is the need of operating system? Just see a figure, it will draw a clear picture. So this is computer, and operating system is also there. Windows 7 is installed there. It recognizes and installs peripheral devices, it manages files and folders, it shares out system memory, handles system errors. Lots of work is being done by the operating system. So this is the need of operating system, to perform all these. By seeing this picture, you can think of that operating system is like a superhero. It is there to perform multiple duties, multiple tasks. It is doing seamlessly, effortlessly. I mean, we even do not care that all these functionality are being done by the operating system, because these works are never coming on the front screen on our user interface. That is being on the background, that is being performed by the operating system in the background mode for easy access of the user. Now, operating system acts as interface. Operating system, what is the need of operating system? And this topic is under that heading. What is the need of operating system? So need of operating system is that OS provides the interface to the user, and interface is provided for what? To facilitate convenient access to hardware. So whatever the hardware devices are available inside the computer, we can use conveniently. Okay, we can use easily. Interface to improve efficiency of the system. Efficiency of the system is being improved with the help of OS, operating system. Provides security of the system, program and data. We discussed in the previous slide this point also. The operating system is there to secure the system, means computer system is being secured with the help of operating system, programs, data. Okay, it emulates features that are not available in the hardware, such as virtual memory. Virtual memory is a concept of memory that is not installed physically, but a portion of hard drive, a specified space of the hard drive is being used as the RAM, random access memory, as the primary memory, and all these things are done virtually with the help of operating system. Okay. Now the parts of operating system. An operating system consists of cell and the kernel. These are the main parts of the operating system, cell and kernel. What is cell and what is kernel? Cell is there to give interface to user to access the computer. Just see the slide. It is responsible for interacting with users. It acts as the interpreter, means it receives the commands from the user, it translates into the machine language, and then it transfers to the kernel to get it done. Now the role of kernel. Kernel is there to interact with the hardware directly. What is the duty of cell? Cell is there to interact with the user. It gives us interface. It gives interface to the user. It acts as an interpreter, means it receives the instruction from user in the language which user understands, and then that instruction, that command is being translated into the machine language, because machine understands only machine language, and then that instruction, that translated instruction, is being transferred to the kernel so that can be executed. Now what is the kernel? It is the core part of the operating system. It communicates with the hardware directly. It manages the resources such as CPU and the memory. Because it is communicating with the hardware directly, so the management of those resources are also the responsibility of kernel. Okay, it works as an interface between the user application and the hardware. Now it is also working like interface, but for what? For the user applications, for the programs which are providing interface to the user for the interaction. So users interacting with the application systems, application programs, and application programs interacting with the kernel to access the hardwares. Okay. Now see this figure. This is the kernel. Process management, file system, memory management, timer management, interrupt and event handling, device input output management, process management, all these things are being done by the kernel. Okay. Now there are two types of kernels. I did not mention in the slide, so just listen. There are two types of kernels. One is monolithic kernel and another is microkernel. Just wait. See, this is monolithic kernel. Monolithic kernel means a single module that carries out all the above mentioned tasks of the kernel. All these tasks which are included in this figure, that is being done with a single module, with a single program, a single file. That file is known as the monolithic kernel, means a kernel capable of performing all these duties. So this is known as monolithic kernel, and these type of kernels are very fast for the execution. But if any error occurs at any module, then the total system crashes. It results the crash of the total system. Okay, modification in this type of kernel is very much difficult. It is known as the complex process. So now what is microkernel? Just see microkernel. The kernel that have the minimalistic modules for basic functions only. and gets other services done through the separately written specialized software like device drivers, file systems. Means a kernel is designed to interact with the to perform very basic functions that are very much essential, that are very much required for the smooth functioning of the OS. And then other services are performed with the help of some specialized softwares like device drivers, file systems, etc. So this is the difference between monolithic and the microkernels. Okay. Now we'll continue to the slides. Okay. Now the functions of operating system. What is the function of operating system? The broad category of the functions of the operating system is known as the essential functions, monitoring function, and service function. But on the next slide we will discuss all the major categories of the functions that are known by the names. These are the generalized form. Essential services, like this is the generalized form. Now when we will come to the specialization, that will fall into the major categorization. So we will discuss later. So before that, broad categories, that is the general categorization known as essential functionalities. Essential functions means to ensure the effective utilization of computer resources, and this is very much essential. If the OS is not going to utilize the computer resources, then it is not good for any computer system. So this is very much essential for the OS to utilize the computer resources in an effective manner. Okay. Now monitoring functions, to monitor and collect the information related to the system performance. If any error occurs, or error handling, error reporting, whatever the tasks are there that are the part of monitoring functions. So operating system monitors the performance of the computer, the execution of the programs. Okay. Now the service functions, the interface which is provided to the user, that comes under the service function. It enhances the facilities provided to the user. Means whatever the functionality of the user, they are made very much functional for a smooth work of the user, and this is known as the service functions. Okay. Now we will come to the specialized categories, that is processor management. The processor, that is known as the CPU also, central processing unit, sometimes that is known as the microprocessor also. Management of that, how that will execute the instruction, and how the clock timing will be maintained, how the synchronization will be done. All these things are done with the help of my operating system. Then memory management, how the memory will be utilized, how the data will be transferred from the primary to the secondary to the primary to the cache memory to the registers, whatever the things of that are related to the memory, that is also done by the operating system. File management, how the file will be saved, how the file will be retrieved, updated, deleted, means anything that are related to the files, related to the data, that are done under the file management, and this is also the duty of the operating system. There are some applications also, some third-party applications are also there to manage the file, and Windows Explorer is the default file manager for the Microsoft Windows operating systems, Windows Explorer. Okay. Now the device management, all the devices, resources connected to the computer, they must be managed to provide the efficient service, to provide the smooth functionality of the computer. So this is also the part of the operating system. User interface, that is very important. The interface of the user must be interactive, smooth, easy, and faster. That is also the duty of operating system. Now the part that is device drivers. What is device drivers? A group of files that enable one or more hardware devices to communicate with the computer's operating system. Because in every field, research and development is going on in every field. Suppose our Windows 7 was designed in 2007. Okay. And if any hardware is designed after 2007, then how the operating system come to know about that, means how to operate with that device, how to communicate with that device. So a special driver required, that is known as the device driver, that is required to help operating system to communicate with that device. So that's why device drivers are very important, because developers try to include all the possible drivers which are available before 2007. But after 2007, if any device is being introduced and you wanted to use that, then operating system is designed to support that hardware. But how to communicate with that, operating system does not know. So for that, device driver is important. And device driver gives interface to the operating system to communicate with the devices, to communicate with the hardware parts. Okay. The types of operating system. The operating system is categorized on the basis of their processing method and user interface. These two types of major categories on which the OS is categorized. Now we will discuss first processing method, categorization of OS on the processing methods. Just see categorization of on the basis of processing methods. The first category is single user OS. Only one user can access the machine at a time, and it is further categorized as single task and single user multitasking operating system. Single task means only one program can be executed at a time. An example of this type of OS is MS-DOS, mobile operating systems, not Android, earlier mobile devices. Okay. So this was only one task can be executed at a time. And single user multitasking means single user will interact, but he can execute multiple programs. He can play the music, he can play the music, he can surf the internet, he can type on the document, he can open an images. So multiple tasks are being supported. That is known as the multitasking operating system. An example of this type is the Windows XP, Windows Vista. Vista was not much popular. It was a flopped version of the Windows, but still the name is there. Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, Linux, Mac OS Leopard. So they are single user, but they support multitasking. Now the next category is multi-program or multi-user operating system. Multi-user means multiple user can work on that OS simultaneously. Okay, it means if that user will log in, multiple user will log in, they will get their individual interfaces. So multiple programs are being executed on same time, simultaneously. Okay, so more than one user programs are loaded and active in the main memory at same time. An example of these type of OS are Unix, Linux, IBM AS400. So multiple OSs are there. These are not only the examples. There are multiple operating systems are there, but they also support multi-program or multi-user operating system. Time sharing operating system. It uses time sharing algorithm, time sharing techniques. Means each active user program is given a fair share of the CPU time. When CPU operating system decides the time for each and every execution, each and every instructions to be executed, and if that execution is not being done on that time, then the resources allocated to that execution, to that instruction will be made free from that instruction. So just read the things. If that time, each active user program is given a fair share of CPU time, if that time elapses or an input-output operation is requested, CPU shifts over to the next job. Previous program is put to wait in case time is over, or handed over to the input-output manager in case input-output request is made. Let me try once to explain this in Hindi. जितने भी एग्जीक्यूशंस हैं, जितने भी प्रोग्राम्स हमारे सिस्टम में एग्जीक्यूट होने हैं, सबके लिए एक फेयर शेयर टाइम मीन्स एक फिक्स टाइमिंग पहले से ही ओएस डिसाइड कर देता है. व्हाटएवर द इंस्ट्रक्शंस आर बीइंग एग्जीक्यूटेड, दे आर बीइंग एलोकेटेड अ स्पेसिफिक टाइम. जैसे आपने अगर वर्ड फाइल ओपन करनी है तो एक फिक्स टाइमिंग की इतने सेकेंड में वो ओपन हो जाना चाहिए. अगर वो नहीं ओपन होता है तो रिसोर्सेज विल नॉट वेट फॉर दैट. आपको एक एरर मैसेज ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम दे के, और ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम उस रिसोर्स से जितने भी रिसोर्सेज एलोकेट किए गए उस प्रोसेस के लिए उसको फ्री कर देगा. टू इंश्योर द इफिशिएंट यूटिलाइजेशन ऑफ द रिसोर्सेज, ये इसीलिए किया जाता है ताकि रिसोर्सेज वहीं पर वेट ना करते रह जाए, डेडलॉक में ना फंस जाए. सपोज आपने कोई प्रोग्राम ओपन किया और वो वर्क नहीं कर रहा, वो रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं कर रहा, और जितने भी रिसोर्सेज एलोकेट किए गए सब वहीं बिजी हो जाए, तो फिर क्या होगा? इफिशियंसी तो इसकी घट जाएगी ना. द इफिशियंसी विल नॉट बी अचीव्ड if it happens. That's why OS is there. It makes free all the resources. And या फिर अगर आपके उस एक प्रोग्राम के एग्जीक्यूशन में टाइम लग रहा, और इनकेस अगर किसी दूसरे प्रोग्राम से रिक्वेस्ट आ गई तो ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम तुरंत उस एग्जीक्यूशन पे नेक्स्ट इंस्ट्रक्शन पे शिफ्ट कर देता है, और अगर टाइम ओवर है तो उसको वेट करने के लिए छोड़ दिया जाता है जो प्रोग्राम आपका रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं कर रहा, या फिर अगर कोई दूसरा रिक्वेस्ट उसमें मेड किया गया तो उस रिक्वेस्ट की तरफ उसको ट्रांसफर करके बाकी आपका सिस्टम को स्मूथली रन कराने के लिए ओएस टाइम शेयर करता रहता है. ओके, दिस इज द प्रोसेस ऑफ टाइम शेयरिंग ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम. एन एग्जांपल ऑफ दिस टाइप ऑफ ओएसेस आर BSD Linux, NOS/VE, Jenny, etc. There are multiple OSs also. Now, real-time operating system, in short they are known as RTOS. And this OS jobs have fixed deadlines and the jobs have to be completed within their deadlines. Now operating system defines the specific time for each and every execution of the program that must be executed within specified deadlines. Okay, and this type of OSs means performance of RTOS are measured by the ability to complete the job within specified deadlines. If that OS is capable of completing the execution of all the programs on the specified deadline, then it is known as good OS. It is known as the best OS, or if not, then modification is required, updation is required in that OS. So this is the concept of real-time operating system. An example of these type of operating systems are Linux OS, OSE, RT Linux, etc. Okay. Now multi-processing operating system. Multi-processing operating system means it is capable of handling more than one processor. Now, here operating system can work on more than one processor, more than one CPU, more than one microprocessors. Okay, it must be capable of load sharing in case of identical processor. If all the processors connected are having of same power, then the OS must be capable to transfer the loads to each and every processor equally. Load sharing. And if the processors are not identical, means all the processors are of different capacity, different power, different computing capacity, then OS must be able to control the main, means the super processor, and the slave processors in case of unidentical processors. Means synchronization between them must be done by the OS, and this is the basic requirement of multiprocessing OS. It supports multiple processing, so execution will be very fast because it is going to support multiple processors. An example of this type of OS is Unix, Linux, Windows NT. NT stands for New Technology. Windows XP is also the operating system of Windows NT family. Windows XP, that was also capable of working with multiple processors. Okay, and if you remember, if you know the history of the computer, then dual core, core to duo, all these processors came into the existence when operating system Windows XP was being used. So XP was capable of working on multiple processors. Now distributed OS. This OS is designed to share its workload over multiple servers on the multiple locations. Most reservation systems use distributed OSs. Most reservation systems use distributed OSs. Example is Linux, Unix, DC, Xopen. Means they are not centralized. They are decentralized operating systems, and they can operate on multiple locations on multiple servers all together. Okay. Now categorization on the basis of user interface. The first one is the command line interface that looks like this, and user type commands to interact with or access the system. If you wanted to access the computer and you have command line interface, then you have to type the command. You have to give the instructions by typing the commands, and it is known as, in CLI interfaces, command line interface is not known as user friendly. It is not user friendly. An example is MS-DOS, Unix. Now interactive operating system interface. Interactive means it provides graphical interaction model. It allows user to give instructions without typing. You are not forced to type each and every instruction. You may type, but you are not forced. We have the option to give the instruction just by the help of mouse, or just pointing or touching. And touch screen is also supported, mouse is also supported. So we have multiple type of multiple methods to give instruction to the computer, to interact with the computer. It is further categorized as Graphical User Interface. Also, it supports WIM, WIM. W stands for Windows, I stands for icon, M stands for menu, P stands for pointers. Windows, icons, menus and pointers. Okay. And second one is the touch screen interface post WIMP. Now we will discuss all these two. Just graphical user interface. It is visual interface. Okay. Main feature of GUI are Windows, icons, menus and pointers. See the red colored W, red colored I, red colored M, red colored P. In short, it is WIMP, which make these operating systems interactive. Okay. And GUI operating system were first created by Xerox in 1973. From 1973 we have graphical user interface, touch screen interface. These are also interactive in nature. Okay, it provides access via touch on the screen also. Now user is not limited to give instruction with the help of mouse. Here user can also give instruction just by touching the screen, just by pinching on the screen, touching on the screen. An example of this type of OS which support the touch screen: Windows 8. Windows 7 does not support touch screen. Windows 8, 8.1, Windows 10, Android, iOS, etc. Multiple OSs are there which support touch screen interaction. Commonly used operating system. Now this is the new topic. This is not the categorization of OS. Now it is commonly used operating system. So Linux is the most commonly used operating system. It is also a most commonly used operating system. It is free and open source software. It is popular also. It is free, means we need not to pay a single rupees to use this software, and also the source code is available freely. We can contribute if we wanted to contribute in the development of this operating system, on the modification of this operating system. Advancement of this operating system can be done by you also if you have the capability. If you are the programmer, you wanted to contribute. Okay, the Linux kernel was written originally by a Finnish university student that is known as Linus Torvalds. Okay, somehow he gave the first version of the Linux, that is, he is Linus Torvalds. Okay, Linus Torvalds. Windows operating system is developed by the Microsoft. Okay, and Windows operating system is a very large family of operating systems. There are multiple operating systems are there into the Windows family. Microsoft introduced first Windows in 1985. November 1985, and the name of that OS was Windows 1.0, and latest version of this Windows is Windows 10. Nowadays we have Windows 10 also. Okay, BOS Linux. BOS stands for Bharat Operating System Solutions Linux. It is an Indian distribution of the GNU Linux based on Debian OS. Okay, Debian is also open source software, and some version of Linux are also distributed by the Debian OS also. Okay, Debian Linux, that is known as the Debian Linux. Desktop environment and applications are localized to enable the use of Indian languages, because this was especially developed for the India Bharat Operating System Solution Linux. Based on Linux, it was developed for India, so they supports the local languages also. And see this figure belongs to the BOS Linux. This figure does not belong to the Solaris. Okay, Solaris is also OS introduced by the Sun Microsystem, and it is the successor of Sun OS. And Solaris operating system, or in short we say Solaris, it was introduced in 1992 by the Sun Microsystems. Okay, Mobile OS, designed for the mobile devices. An example of mobile OSs are Android devices, Symbian devices, Windows Phone, Apple, iOS, RIM, BlackBerry OS. The latest version of BlackBerry OS is BlackBerry 10. Okay, it is based on the technique QNX. QNX is the form of Quick Unix. QNX is designed on the basis of Unix, Unix interface is used to design QNX, and QNX concept is used to develop the latest version of this software, BlackBerry. RIM stands for Research in Motion. Okay. Now file system. File system, it is the part of operating system that is responsible for organizing and retrieving files from a storage device. Okay, and structured layout. File system defines a structured layout by which we used to save the file, we used to access the file, we used to retrieve the file. It follows an hierarchical concept to store the files, so that retrieval of the data, retrieval of the file is very easy. It is the mechanism to help store data into the computer. It stores data in hierarchical model to allow easy access. Okay. Now, role of file system. Creating structure on storage device to store the file. So the file system is there to create a structure so that we can store the files inside the computer, inside the storage devices. Okay. It specifies the file name convention. What should be the maximum length of the file name, and which character you may use in the file name, which character you may not. Okay, and what will be the length of the extension. So all these things are being defined by the file system. For example, in MS-DOS, maximum length of files should be 8 characters, and 3 characters are there for extension. It's the total name, which be the length of the total name, cannot exceed from the 11 characters. Okay, what is full file name? Full file name means primary file name dot extension. Extension, what is extension? Extension is there. It helps the system to identify that this file belongs to which application, that a particular file will be accessed by with the help of which application. Suppose you have .mp3 file. It means we are telling to the system that this is a audio file. If you have .mp4 file, it means we are telling to the system that this is the video file. If this is DOC or DOCX, if this is DOC, it means we wanted to instruct the system. We are instructing the system that this is the file which is supported by Office 2007 version, and if it is .docx, then it is the file of which is supported by Office 2007, 2010, 2013, and the later version, the advanced version. .doc, it can be opened by 2007, 2013, 2010 by the advanced version, but docx cannot be opened by the Office version lower than Office 2007. Before 2007 there was Office 2003, so .doc was the extension used by the Office 2003, Office 95 also, but docx is the default system for the Office 2007. So this is the importance of extension, and it provides way to access or retrieve a stored file. How we can access, how we can retrieve the files from the storage devices. File system is there. File system is responsible to give us a methodology to access the files. Okay, thanks for that. Now the remaining we will discuss in the next video class, next chapter. This chapter is completed here. Thanks.